Revolution. Delighted to be here. Adrian Healy with Taylor Twellman alongside. Your timing is impeccable. You arrive right in time for kickoff. FC Dallas, very much the informed team here at the New England Revolution, looking to perhaps spring a surprise. Two teams who don't have a great track record when it comes to cup finals. Taylor Twellman, their broadcast partner alongside me, will attest to that. But two teams who are looking to perhaps get on the right track in terms of lifting silverware. Away we go! Dallas going from right to left, all in red. A competition that started back in May with 91 teams reaches its pinnacle here tonight. Both these teams looking to win the Open Cup for just the second time in their club's existence. We'll bring you the team news as soon as we have a moment. Dallas going from right to left on your screens. Had some changes to make. They went down to defeat here in MLS play over the weekend to Colorado. Coach Oscar Pereira rested 4 of his mainline starters in that game, and they are all back here tonight. Mauro Rosales leading the charge down the right-hand side.
And that's going to be an interesting relationship. Tonight, Chris Tierney's out of the lineup. Javon Watson's playing at left back. And Rosales, his movement, he likes to come inside. But if he can keep Watson honest and stay wide and allow Hollingshead to push forward and overload that area, it could be a real problem for the New England Revolution defensively.
There's the man they love to call Pappy around these parts, Oscar Pereira, who is trying to turn such promise here in Dallas into something tangible. No doubt about it, they have been the class act in the league over the last 2 seasons, but still no silverware to show for it. Chasing honours on 3 fronts, leading the pack in terms of the Supporters' Shield race, and of course MLS Cup a distinct possibility. But this is what's in front of them tonight. New England Revolution side determined to turn their season around, which they've started to do, to be fair to them, over the last couple of weeks in MLS play. A couple of great results, and that man has been a key protagonist. Juan Agudelo for Jay Heaps, playing some of his best football yet as a member of the Revolution.
Well, he had to change something up because it was a little stale, particularly during the summer, and part of it was Kai Kamara was struggling to make a real impact. Only 4 goals in the 16 appearances. They just became a little too predictable. But I think defensively, tactically, this change has given the Revolution a little bit more stability, and I think Gershon Kofi's been a huge part of that.
Yeah, Kofi has been protecting that back 4 wonderfully well. And it's produced wins against 2 high flyers, Colorado and New York City. Both of them at home, though, by scores of 2-0 and 3-1 over the last couple of weeks. This is a task of a different sort of magnitude here tonight against the Dallas side, who were unbeaten here at Toyota Park until this past weekend when Colorado came in, won by a goal to 0. And as I mentioned, Taylor, Oscar Pereira did rest 4 of his key players for that game, and they come in fresh tonight.
Yeah, but then they want to deny that Tuesday night the Open Cup final wasn't on their mind Saturday.
Right.
Well, then why'd you rest 4 players? I don't care what you're thinking. As a player, when the final is that quickly right behind your weekend game, it's in the back of your mind.
Scotty Caldwell merging the ball. Kellen Rowe trying to reconnect with Caldwell. Nice crowd packed in here to Toyota Stadium. Officially a sellout. They were selling some standing room only tickets despite the late start here. 9 o'clock Central Time on a Tuesday night. Toyota Park with a slightly reduced capacity at the moment, about 16,000. Not too many late arrivals. What is a very warm and sticky night. No September Christmas down here, Taylor. It's about 88 degrees at kickoff. Here's Andrew Farrell, who's switched back to the right-hand side of the defence of late. Great effect. Agudelo on the turn. The foul committed on Nino Figueroa. Let's bring you the official team news and the two lineups, starting with New England. And the big decision, of course, revolved around Kai Kamara. Would Jay Heaps insert him? He decided not to.
Yeah, and I think that's the right move because Agudelo and Lee went up front, have had a good relationship. And then you look at this lineup, 4 changes from the weekend that you've mentioned. But Gruezo and Acosta are so important to this team because when the ball turns over, how quickly they start the team going the other way in transition, that's a key tonight.
Two teams who try and stick to their principles. They both strive to play progressive football on the ground. That's a great turn from Agudelo! And Juan Agudelo continues his hot streak, and the Revolution strike first and early.
And so much has been made about the tactical switch for the New England Revolution under Jay Heaps. And a lot of this is for Gershon Kofi to be free as a defensive midfielder. FC Dallas wins possession. Watch this turnover. Gershon Kofi wins that read from Mauro Diaz. He allows Lee Nguyen to get forward. How about that for a first touch from Juan Agudelo? And when this kid is fit and in form, there's not many better than him in the United States in Major League Soccer. But injuries have always been a huge problem for Juan Agudelo. Great start early on here on the road for the Revolution.
And the home crowd are stunned. That look says it all. This wasn't part of the script. The Revolution coming in and right off the bat, making their mark. As he said, Agudelo, who, let's not forget, a few years ago was pretty much being held up where Christian Pulisic is at the moment. As a 17-year-old, he burst onto the scene, didn't he?
Well, and as quickly as a lot of us want to write him off, he's still only 23 years of age, Adrian. It's never been about does he have it. It's just a matter of can he put it together. We've seen the skills and the goals. Look at the bicycle kick he scored in the MLS playoffs last year. The technical ability Juan Agudelo has, that's not even a question. Fitness, I think the ruthlessness in front of the goal, but what we've seen over the last 3 weeks, he's enjoyed this 4-4-2 lineup with Lee Nguyen up front next to him.
The span at Matt Hedges like a top in the movement and the build up to that goal. So now Dallas, who haven't had to play from behind too often here at Toyota Park this season. Vaughan Watson in your picture returning to the Revolution lineup after his international duty with Jamaica. He plays at left back tonight in place of Chris Tierney. Perhaps another slightly surprising personnel decision for Jay Heaps. Tierney has been such an anchor there for the Revolution for so long.
Yeah, but I think Jay Heaps is also looking at it. They played Saturday night, and Chris Tierney's getting older. I also think athleticism of whether or not Barrios is on that side, Hollingshead is overlapping Rosales. I just think it was an athletic decision, but I was a little surprised that Javon Watson wasn't in at center back for London Woodbury. Yeah. As we look at Woodbury's down here injured, but keep in mind there's that emotional element to this with Woodbury and Watson both being ex-FC Dallas players. Maybe Jay Heaps was trying to push that button a little bit.
Absolutely, you know they were both chomping to play, and there's Landon Woodbury who's down, who was a Dallas Academy product. For Oscar Pereira's time, Oscar Pereira, who really created the Dallas Youth Academy and has produced so many great young players. Let's go back to the goal again. Talking of great young players, Agudelo, look at this turn he produces here.
Yeah, but you can't state it enough how important that read is from Gershon Kofi. Because if Gershon Kofi doesn't read that pass from Mauro Diaz, now FC Dallas is going the other way, and that's where they're so lethal, is on the break, particularly when they get their wide players running at you. You just love the fact that Juan Agudelo's first touch gets Matt Hedges turning the wrong way. And that says it all. Yeah. Juan Agudelo is hot, 3 goals in a row, and a lot of that is because he's fit and he's playing alongside Lee Nguyen in a formation that I think suits Juan Agudelo perfectly.
His 2 prior goals played a big part in 2 significant victories for the Revolution. hoping that Lightning strikes for a third time. Godello, by the way, had only previously scored 1 goal in the history of this competition, the Open Cup. That was one of his prior teams, Chivas USA, back in 2013. Actually got injured in this season's tournament in the quarterfinal against the New York Cosmos. Now, Urruti not going to catch up to that. Max Urruti, the Argentine who always plays with a twinkle in the eye. Such a good signing for Oscar Pereira from the Portland Timbers. Woodbury is back in action, as you can see, albeit a little patched up. Ten minutes in, the Revolution with the lead. Hollingshead going through a couple of challenges there, but running into resistance from Kofi. Jay Heaps yesterday calling Gershon Kofi the fire extinguisher. Has been so good. He's protecting that back four, playing alongside them sometimes in recent weeks. Lee Wynn just reaching in and penalised. One playmaker worried about another, Mauro Diaz, and he brought him down.
And so much of the success under Oscar Pereira over the last 2 years is Mauro Diaz got fit. You know, when he first came to MLS, he was injured. His fitness was always a question. The last 2 years, he's been spectacular. 8 goals, 10 assists last year, 5 goals, 11 assists this year. Just has a great sense to get defenders wrong-footed, set up set pieces, the final ball. Mauro Diaz, easily one of the top playmakers we've got in Major League Soccer.
An all-star this year, Mauro Diaz. Commissioner Don Garber using one of his picks. Diaz will look to pick his spot here, perhaps. Brad Knighton constructing his wall. The Revolution goalkeeper has used this tournament to great effect to stake his claim to be the #1.
He's got to allow his wall to do his job, because if he gets caught cheating, don't be shocked if this ball's hit over the wall at Brad Knighton here on that back post.
It's Diaz, and just off the top of the wall, and the follow-up shot is skied by Kellen Acosta. That was a great effort, wasn't it, for Gonçalves in the wall to actually rise up and meet this.
Right, you've got to believe your wall's going to do its job. And what is it, 6, 7 New England Revolution defenders in that wall? We saw it so much during the European Championships. Goalkeepers have that tendency to maybe cheat a little bit, and they get caught going the other way. Gonçalves doing a good job.
Oscar Pereira's side, who are very much chasing a treble, an unprecedented treble. This just the first part of it. The Supporter Shield and MLS Cup still available.
And the treble here in the United States is a little different because CONCACAF Champions League is 2 seasons.
Right.
So Supporter Shield becomes part of that treble. But it's remarkable when you look at a team that doesn't really spend a ton of money, no big name DPs. The last 2 regular seasons, they've made some runs.
Oh, that's what FC Dallas have on their plate. First in the Supporters Shield chase, 4 points ahead of the Los Angeles Galaxy heading into the stretch run. They have a torrid stretch run, we should say, perhaps the hardest of any side in the Supporters Shield race. They have to play LA twice for starters. Looking to take the first step here. This is Rosales. Mauro Rosales at the age of 35. The Argentine has won an Open Cup before with the Seattle Sounders.
I'm just watching the discussion right now between Fagundes and Watson. Rosales' movement right now is causing a real headache for the Revolution defensively.
Forward comes Zimmerman and Hedges. 2 central defenders. Rosales, the outswinger. Routine piece of defensive work. Acosta trying to rekindle the attack here. Carlos Gruezo, the Ecuadorian international. Across from deep, Urruti! It's on! It is a beauty from Urruti, and Dallas are level.
Attacking down this left side of the New England Revolution defense 15 minutes into this game has been a real issue for the Revolution. But Urruti, throughout his entire career, the one positive is he's relentless. He doesn't stop. 90 minutes, always moving. You can criticize maybe the final touch, the final play, but this first touch beats Watson to that ball. The concentration to wait for it, put the ball in the back of the net, and get FC Dallas right back into this one.
Well, how about that for a response to early adversity? Urruti, who scored a massive goal in the playoffs last year for the Portland Timbers on their route to MLS Cup. Never the most prolific goal scorer, Urruti, but he times his contributions seemingly so well. This was Mauro Diaz who had set up the goal for Urruti, charging in on Kofi. Penalised as a result. This crowd brought roaring back to life by the resolve and the response of the home team.
Gonzalez is livid right now with London Woodbury. He's absolutely livid with him. And this is the thing that Max Urruti will do to you. He causes headaches. And Adrian, you said it. He's not the most prolific goal scorer, but Oscar Pereira even mentioned it. It doesn't really matter. Because with Diaz underneath him, Barrios in wide areas, they had Castillo. Urruti's just relentless, constant pressure. He's a gnat. He's all over you. And right now, when you look at, if you're Max Urruti and you're seeing Gonçalves and Woodbury absolutely having a go at each other, you already know you've done your job 16, 17 minutes into this one.
Diaz officially credited with the assist on the Urruti equaliser. Diaz looking to wreak some more havoc. And pick his way through midfield territory, looking for Urruti again. Gonçalves had to be smart. Actually, it was Woodbury, wasn't it? London Woodbury, who was the 9th ever homegrown player for FC Dallas. Only ever played 8 times here. But we thought, coming down here tonight, Taylor, that there might be goals in this one. Certainly the early evidence bears that out.
Well, when these two teams played here in 2007, the Open Cup final, there was goals.
A game you remember rather well.
Well, when it's the only one you win, you better remember it.
That man remembers it too. Jay Heaps telling us all about it yesterday. He remembered missing a penalty here the year before in the MLS Cup final.
I still get cold sweats. I still get a little nauseous walking into this building. I'm not going to lie to you.
Now, might the shot be on here for Fagundes? He's trying to tease an opening for Wynn. Of course, the Revs used that success in 2007, a 3-2 victory, and really turned on the Jets for the rest of the season and made the MLS Cup as well. Jay Heaps hoping for a similarly galvanizing effect if they can get the right result here. Lee Wynn has some recovering to do.
This is going to be an interesting matchup, I think, tonight, because Lee Wynn has the freedom to move where he wants up front with Juan Agudelo. So Guerrezo or Costa have to do a good job of always having that eye of when he's in those pockets of space causing issues. You just look at Lee Wynn, it's the second straight slow start, Adrian.
Interesting conversation there between Pereira and Wynn. Wynn, of course, a native of this area, grew up in Plano, Texas. Plano East High he graduated from, has a lot of friends and family here tonight. And it's his free kick. Seeking out Agudelo again. Forward by Woodbury. Farrell leaping with Barrios.
But to go back to that slow start of Lee Wynn, Adrian, last year in the last 11 games, he had 3 goals, 6 assists.
Here's Barrios, meanwhile. Good looking ball. Oh, and it was Rather thumping challenge.
Well, is the offside flag up here? Or is the assistant referee calling a corner? I think he's calling a corner.
Yeah. Baldomero Toledo, the man in the middle, being assisted on the far side. Look at the challenge again.
I don't think it's a penalty shot, but I do think the assistant referee does a good job of noticing that ball comes off of Watson.
Yeah, officiating crew getting it 100% there. It's the second corner of the night for FC Dallas.
And an issue for New England is defending set pieces on in-swinging balls from Rosales. Matt Hedges, Walker Zimmerman, Figueroa, they seem to like this kind of ball a little bit better, and they've been extremely dangerous. That near post where Andrew Farrell's sitting right in front of Brad Knighton, so crucial here defending this ball in.
Here it comes. Looking for the flick on at the near post. Diaz controlling, picking his way through, still Diaz. And then fizzed across the face of goal by Figueroa. Header on the end of it from Hollingshead. It'll be the first ever game for the US women's national team since, or rather the first game since the Olympics, as they play their first ever game against Thailand. We'll have that for you from Columbus Thursday at 8 Eastern on ESPN2, also streaming live on the ESPN app. Exhilarating start to this cup final in Frisco. If you're just joining us, the Revolution grabbing the early lead, but Dallas bouncing right back. Crashing to the ground there is Diaz. Well, you mentioned it, Taylor, no doubt about it. Diaz is the man who turns the lights on for Dallas. Once upon a time of River Plate in Argentina. Third in the league in assists at the moment. We've got two of the top 5 players in MLS in terms of creating chances in this game. Mauro Diaz and Lee Win. Sasha Kleshton actually leads all comers in that list. Valerian Morales and Real Salt Lake making up the top 5. Maynor Figueroa, very used to the big occasion. Over 200 Premier League appearances, the World Cups with Honduras. A throw for Rosales, but no damage done. Brad Knighton has it and looks to get the Revolution going forward.
I'm not sure that's the right decision here. You've been defending over the last 5-6 minutes here. You've got an opportunity to allow your back 4 to push forward. I think Brad Knight needs to be extremely smart here and wouldn't it maybe slow the game down and allow this midfield to take a breather, because right now Diego Fagundes, Kellen Rowe, and Scott Caldwell, they're chasing shadows in the midfield here.
Barrios getting involved on the right hand side, high hanging cross, no problems for Farrell. And it was Kellen Rowe, that was a clever cut back pass. Lee Win hold off Carlos Gruezo, does so successfully. Here's Andrew Farrell, also made an appearance in the All-Star game this year. Dink over the top towards Caldwell. The 103rd playing of the US Open Cup final. And a rematch of that 2007 final. We told you about it. It means it's actually the first rematch in any US Open Cup final since 1944. Bizarrely enough. I bet you can't name the two teams in that 1944 US
I'm going to guess
Open Cup
two
final.
teams from Pennsylvania.
Actually, one was Morgan Strasser from Pennsylvania and the Brooklyn Hispano team. Free kick here for Dallas. Long, long way out. Diaz, little dink in, still up for grabs. But there was some pushing. Albanero Toledo on the scene. Would you argue, Taylor, that Oscar Pereira's side have been the gold standard in MLS over the last 2 seasons? They've spent nearly the entirety of those 2 seasons atop the Western Conference.
I think if you were going to use an example of how to utilize your academy, how to utilize player development in the structure of Major League Soccer, they're a great example. Because they haven't gone out and got aging European stars. They've used their own stars right in front of them.
But they have yet to adorn all of that with a crown of any sort. And the gold standard land the silverware. Well, we welcome in our audience who are watching the WNBA game, Minnesota and Chicago, which went to overtime. We are here in Frisco, Texas, watching the 2016 US Open Cup final. Adrian Healy and Taylor Twellman with you. And you've already missed some fireworks if you weren't with us. 1-1. Juan Agudelo giving New England the early lead. A lead that lasted just 9 minutes. Maxi Arruti at the other end. Leveling matters. Not only an Open Cup at stake, but also a berth in next year's CONCACAF Champions League. Not to mention the prize money that goes with it too, which has increased significantly over the years. The first piece of domestic silverware available to United States MLS teams. Jay Heaps, who has a checkered past, shall we say, when it comes to finals, Taylor. I know you shared some of those.
Especially in this building.
Yeah. You shared some of those tears rather than triumphs with him, but there was triumph too as well the last time the Revolution played in this final against Dallas. Jay Heaps reminding us he also lost an Open Cup final as a player with the old Miami Fusion back in 2000, but the Revs overall, if you throw in MLS Cup and Open Cup, are playing in their 8th final in club history tonight. And that 07 success remains their only one thus far. Dallas have only won 1 of their 5 finals combined. So something has to give here.
And even though Juan Agudelo scored an early goal and got this team off, they've really been defending over the last, I'd say, 10, 11 minutes. And somehow they've got to get Kellen Rowe, Lee Wen involved in this game. They've got to have a little bit more possession. And right on cue, this ball's being played out of bounds. But FC Dallas's reaction after giving up an early goal has been spot on. And it's been a difficult time over the last 10, 11 minutes here for New England on the defending side of things.
Well, just to complete our network housekeeping, those of you watching on ESPN News, I would ask you now to flip over to ESPN2, where you can see the remainder of this cup final. Right here on ESPN News, we will send you to Sports Center. As Zimmerman is trying to send the ball through. A yellow card handed out by Toledo in the direction of Scotty Caldwell. Zimmerman followed through himself on Goshen Kofi, who remains down, but it's Caldwell who was booked. Could be one of those foul after the foul situations, and I think that's exactly what Jay Heaps is thinking about.
You know, I think more of the yellow card as well on Scott Caldwell's persistent infringement.
Jimmy Heaps trying to become just the 3rd person to win this competition as a player and a head coach. And one of those previous 2 is sat right alongside him, Tommy Sohn, Jay Heaps' assistant coach. Won it 3 times as a player, also won it as a DC United head coach. There he is in the Grey Revolution top, Tom Sohn.
Kofi's grabbing his knee right now, Adrian. He's having words with Woodbury, and I think Jay Heaps and Tommy Sohn are very concerned about this because their 4-4-2 has been so effective with Gershon Kofi in the middle. But for those of you that weren't with us, Gershon Kofi was a huge impact of the early goal. He read the pass from Mauro Diaz. How about this for a great turn from Juan Agudelo? And you're thinking 6 minutes in here, the New England Revolution, great start on the road. But the reaction from FC Dallas, spot on. Mauro Diaz with his movement, his mobility. Decent first touch from Max Arudi, even a better second touch. And I think that's where the momentum has changed in this game, and FC Dallas feeling it a little bit going forward.
Agudelo, as you mentioned, coming in with the hot hand for the Revolution. His best form yet in a New England shirt. And this is what they are playing for, the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup trophy.
I'm not sure Gershon Kofi can continue here, Adrian. And so now you've got to make a decision if you're Jay Heaps. Do you bring Chris Tierney in and move Javon Watson at defensive midfield? Even Oscar Pereira said Javon Watson's the most versatile player he's ever coached. Yep. But this is a massive, massive game changer for the Revolution because Kofi's been a huge part of that diamond in the midfield success over the last couple of weeks.
And to get injured in that manner would just be so unfortunate for the Revolution. Kofi caught by Zimmerman after the whistle had already gone, in effect. Figueroa to span in the air awkwardly. And the ref short-handed for now. And now Kofi getting back on, but there's a real danger. Dallas with a great scoring opportunity. Hollingshead was in the mix. Knighton there to gather up the pieces. The ref's defense was stretched while Kofi was trying to get back on.
And Kofi was trying to get back on for about 20 seconds, Adrian. So Gonsalves and Woodbury were chasing numbers coming through. You just love what FC Dallas does with their numbers coming out of the midfield. A lot of it is Max Arudi running the channels, and I get that. But Diaz, Barrios, Hollingshead coming forward, even Kellen Acosta. They just cause so many matchup problems because they're always moving. They're not stationary. It's been a real headache right now over the last 20 minutes for the Revolution here.
That was such a dash into a dangerous position by Ryan Hollingshead. Now it's Arudi trying to cause havoc.
I think a lot of us thought they would miss Fabian Castillo, but they've been okay without him.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Castillo yet, have we?
What is it, 10 games or so? And you look at it, they've gotten their results.
Well, Barrios has picked up the slack. I talking to Oscar Pereira about that yesterday. He really, in many ways, lifted up the players how to solve the problem of no more Fabian Castillo. They took ownership of it. Pereira, who always preaches the allowance of players to find the way. He loves intelligent players who can solve problems.
I think it's a massive issue that needs to be talked about in youth soccer. And I'm not going to go on a tangent, but I'm just, too often we're talking to young players and parents, they rely so much on the tactics of a coach, when the reality is a coach only has 3 opportunities a game to make a sub at the professional level. I just love that about Oscar Pereira. I think the younger player in our country, if they can solve it on their own and fix their own problems, I think when you're older, you just become a better player. All right, good. I feel better. I'm telling you, this 90-degree weather gets me going.
Well, there's been a lot to enjoy about the way these two teams have played football through the first 34 minutes here. But increasingly, you can feel Dallas getting a stranglehold on proceedings, can't you? And that continues to be cause for real concern in the Revolution camp. Gershon Kofi, who's in his first year with the club, brought over from the Vancouver Whitecaps, where he was actually originally spotted in Ghana by Tom Sohn at the time, and he was director of soccer for Vancouver.
He's not moving well, but he's also not coming out of the game. And I wonder if part of this is to allow whoever's coming in for him an opportunity to get a decent warm-up. Over the weekend, you and I saw it with Zubar coming off and Perronel coming in without any real warm-up. But he's not moving right.
Gruezo is moving smoothly enough and opens up a channel for Hollingshead. He needs no second invitation. Diaz holding off Caldwell. Hollingshead trying to get out the way. The ball wasn't meant for him. And entangling for it. Could only commit the foul. Ryan Hollingshead, who was a second-round draft pick back in 2013. Actually, didn't play in 2013, did he? He took a year sabbatical right off the bat. Some charity work in Haiti, helped build a church in Sacramento. New England players are continuing to go through warm-ups. Chris Tierney perhaps more urgently than anyone else. You would think it would be him. How about that from Diaz? Seemingly had nowhere to go, but good resistance from Kellen Rowe to win it back. Agudelo with the layoff for Fagundes, who's been one of the quieter Revolution players so far.
I think that's the first time you've called Fagundes' name.
Yeah. Really been involved, has he?
No, he's having a real difficult time of Hollingshead pushing forward. He's making life very difficult for Diego Fagundes, whether or not he stays inside off the left shoulder of Christian Kofi, or he slides out of that diamond and picks up Ryan Hollingshead coming forward.
Fagundes, who was also on the score sheet in that 3-1 victory against New York City FC on Saturday night. The Revs coming in on the back of 2 impressive victories against 2 of the front runners in MLS. This is Urruti doing the running. Acosta back to Urruti. Barrios is available. Well, was that a cross or a shot? I think only Michael Barrios will know the answer to that. Our coverage of the UEFA Champions League group stages continues. Meanwhile, Wednesday, a Group H encounter between Juventus and Sevilla from Turin, 2:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Also the ESPN app, and watch ESPN.
That's the third time Juan Agudelo has just given the ball away too cheaply in the midfield. He's got an early goal. He was confident. Now, since then, we've seen very little from Juan Agudelo. And this is the maturation you want to talk about with Juan Agudelo. He's in his 8th professional season, but yet at the age of 23, Adrian, these are the moments where you've got to be a leader. You've got to be a hold-up player. You've got to keep possession. The goal was great and wonderful, but now you've got to dig in and play as a center forward.
Quite the contrast between his record as a starter and a substitute. The Revolution, originally a product of the Red Bulls Youth Academy, talking of one of the more storied youth academies around this country. Diaz, a little cut back and then the layoff. Urruti. It spins out the way of Mauro Rosales, and he will have to settle for a corner.
Diaz is up for it tonight, isn't he? He's been all over the place. His movement, when he's mobile and moving the way he is, like he is tonight, he's almost unstoppable.
Third corner for the home team. The crowd pumped up as it comes in towards Zimmerman. In again, and Hedges is there! And Matt Hedges heading Dallas in front. Somehow they left the big centre-back wide open, and he made the Revolution pay.
So often when you're talking about defending set pieces, there's 2 phases. One, you deal with the first ball. You try to get the first ball outside the 18. But then next, you got to keep an eye on the second phase of defending. This ball's played back to the 18. Matt Hedges wide open, because here you are, the New England Revolution ball watching, not dealing with their runners. And Amaro Diaz again puts the ball on a platter, and Matt Hedges puts it away. FC Dallas deservedly up 2-1 here at home. Great ball in. How about that look?
Finishing like a centre forward. Matt Hedges, who was spun around by Juan Agudelo for the Revolution's opening goal in the game. Now that is some way to find redemption. Well, they're irrepressible at the moment. The home team firmly with the bit between the teeth. Figueroa also got an assist, a secondary assist on that goal. His cross this time was after the ball had gone behind.
You just can't switch off. And we see it so often, no matter what level it is. We saw it during the European Championships. We see it here in Major League Soccer. We saw it at the Premier League over the weekend. Defending set pieces, Adrian, it's so much about that second phase. You think initially if I deflect the first ball, it's out of it. You're not out of the play. You have to track your runners. You have to stay with that second ball. And right there, a perfect example of FC Dallas killing the New England Revolution because they got caught ball watching.
It looks like it could be curtains here for Kofi. And look about this. What about this? It's Kai Kamara. Who are they going to turn to? Kofi already has his boot off. And so, trailing by 2-1, Jay Heaps will... I don't know if you call it a roll of the dice, Taylor, but it's...
It is a little bit. I don't think this move was going to be made if it's 1-1, but I think that goal from Matt Hedges, now all of a sudden it changes things a little bit. 42nd minute, I am a little surprised here that you make that decision without maybe going into halftime, assessing the situation with Kofi and maybe whether Juan Agudelo, who we were told was gassed after the game on Saturday. But now it's interesting because ultimately what this does is it pushes Lee Nguyen into the diamond. Kellen Rowe moves wide, so now you've got, okay, Scott Caldwell at the bottom of that diamond, who's not the most physical defensive midfielders. This is Jay Heaps and the Revolution going for it, even before halftime.
Kamara, of course, who was the subject of that big in-season trade between Columbus Crew SC and the Revolution. As you see, 4 goals in 16 appearances thus far for Kamara, who was joined top of the scoring charts last year with the Crew, 22. Didn't play in either of the Revolution's recent victories, Kamara. One of them he was away on international duty, scored, we should mention, on international duty for Sierra Leone against Ivory Coast.
Keep in mind as well, Adrian, Scott Caldwell's on a yellow.
Yeah. So the Revs will be stretched thin, you imagine, providing sort of defensive midfield cover. Aruti's return ball. Javon Watson shepherding. Watson, who played 3 years here in Dallas, another 2 in Houston. Now Kamara. Not a stranger to big cup finals. Kai Kamara was on the losing side in MLS Cup last December in Columbus, but has won an Open Cup as well, this time with Kansas City. Scored a goal in that final against Seattle and a goal from the penalty in the shootout. They needed some hold-up play from Agudelo there, the Revs. They got none. Here come Dallas again. Final minute of the first half. Arruti is in the clear. Couldn't bring it down. Saving challenge, that one. Oh, how important might that prove to be from Landon Woodbury? Had Arruti been allowed to bring that down, it could easily have been 3. Kellen Acosta, meanwhile, to Diaz. Left foot and then to right. Comfortable enough for Brad Knighton. Now some space for Lee Nguyen here. This is what the Revs need to capitalise on. Nguyen's ball, though, cut out by Zimmerman. Agudelo was the man on his radar screen there. And another Revolution player down. This time it's Javon Watson on the far side. Well, they're having no luck at all with fitness in this first 45 minutes. Jay Heaps must be wondering what he's done to deserve this, losing Kofi to almost an innocuous off the ball after the whistle play, and now has to wonder whether Watson is going to be able to continue.
I don't think there's any question about it. If Watson's screaming for him to come off here, Chris Tierney comes on, and now you're looking at it, Adrian, and let's just hypothetically say the Revolution get back into this game 2-2 with extra time and everything. They've already used 2 subs before half.
Well, Chris Tierney has been almost a constant starter for the Revolution since he first broke in 2008. Coming up at half-time, while we have a moment, we'll bring you a report from the Think Taylor Concussion Awareness Week, which is ongoing at the moment. FC Dallas surging after allowing the early goal. We'll recap all the first half highlights here from Toyota Park. Oscar Pereira very animated on the sideline. This is another big blow for the Revs, the hugely versatile and dependable Watson. Back from international duty just a few days ago. He's going to be able to play no further part, but it does lead to Chris Tierney, who leads all MLS defenders in chances created this season. It's not the first time he's been atop that particular list. Lends an attacking presence which they haven't really had down the left-hand side.
Oh, they've had very little of it, and I think that's more credit to what Rosales and Hollingshead have done with Diego Fagundes, making him sit on his heels defensively, and Javon Watson having a difficult time of whether to push Fagundes on or have him sit in. I think Chris Tierney needs to come into this, and he's got a little bit better communication, I think, with Diego Fagundes in this spot. But I think FC Dallas have done a wonderful job, Adrian, in this first half of making that left side of New England almost invisible in this entire first half.
Well, they've certainly responded to adversity in the most positive manner imaginable. Barrios, meanwhile, and Figueroa, too hot to handle initially for Knighton, but he was able to grab it at the second attempt. Maynard Figueroa, who won an FA Cup in England under Roberto Martinez with Wigan Athletic. I'm trying to add an Open Cup to that. 3 minutes of stoppage time have elapsed. Can you imagine Jay Heaps and the Revolution coaching staff will have plenty to talk about at half-time, Taylor?
Yeah, I do think, though, Kai Kamara would have been coming into this game anyway, so I do think to get him warmed up and get him into this game, I think that would have been a switch he needed to make. But I think he's got to figure out a way to get Juan Agudelo, Lee Nguyen, Kai Kamara. They've got to find a way to get more possession. And a lot of that comes off of playing into your forward's feet, having hold-up play, and allowing the midfield to get out of that defensive zone.
Well, they've had one shot in this first half. They made it count. And here's Barrios scampering forward. Farrell, though, is matching him stride for stride, and a little more than that, too. Conceding the free kick as we're now into the 5th minute of first half stoppage time. Beldomero Toledo showing no sign that he wants to go in for half-time. Obviously enjoying it as much as we are.
I think Watson's injury threw a wrinkle into that extra time in this first half. Yeah. But now you've got to defend set pieces here, and with this in-swinging ball from Diaz, How often have we seen a ball in this area come in swinging, go untouched, and slip in on that back post?
So red alert for the Revolution defense against the men in red. Can Diaz dial up here? Far post delivery. Ooh, the
assistant referee called the penalty
on the far side, and the penalty is given. That was the assistant on the far side, Baldomero Toledo, pointing to the spot. There were appeals initially from Hedges beyond the far post. Toledo didn't see it, but the assistant on the far side clearly did. And deep into first half stoppage time, things have got even worse for the Revolution.
Well, just keep an eye on Gonçalves and Matt Hedges here. That ball's played in behind, and it's difficult to see from that point of view. But right here, watch him. He's pulling that right arm down. And listen, you will always hear the subjective argument, well, that's been called and that's not been called. But the reality is, Gonçalves has his right arm. Yep. And that's plain to see for the assistant referee. It's hard to argue with the call.
Well, Jay Heaps turning redder by the second. It's the inconsistencies of when it's called and when it isn't. Mauro Diaz has only ever missed one in his time with Dallas. And he can give the home team a 2-goal cushion here with literally the last kick of the first half. Diaz scores! Knighton went the right way, but the ball went underneath him. And Dallas have an insurance policy before the break.
Brad Knighton was massive in this Open Cup run. In penalty kicks, he dove correctly. That will drive any goalkeeper nuts that he doesn't come up with that save. Mauro Diaz and FC Dallas all over New England in this first half.
He had it, didn't he, Knighton? But the pure power of Diaz's spot kick ensured it slipped underneath him. His second goal of this US Open Cup run. And that will do it. An elongated first half here. Jay Heaps is just beside himself. You have to have a little sympathy with him. So often you see defenders get away with it, but this time
it's a call that's inconsistent. But the reality is Gonçalves pulled down Matt Hedges.
He did, and the refs paid the ultimate penalty. They trail here by 3-1. Welcome back, everyone, to Toyota Stadium. The Lamar Hunt US Open Cup final started 103 years ago. This competition is the oldest team trophy available in American sports. And Dallas have taken a big step towards getting their hands on the cup with their first half performance. There's still lots of work to do here. New England are up against it, no doubt about it. They haven't come back from any halftime deficit at all in MLS play this season. They're also forced to make 2 first half changes. Jay Heaps having to bring on Chris Tierney due to injury, and Kai Kamara as well. Kamara involved immediately. It seems a tall order, Taylor, but one goal could yet change the dynamic of this cup final. And the Revs, what they do have is plenty of potential goal scorers out there.
Well, we see it all the time, don't we? You know, it's that age-old, what is it, the 2-goal lead's the worst one in soccer, which I can't stand. Because, by the way, give me a 2-goal lead, and I'll see what I can do with it. But the reality is, if New England gets a little momentum in this game, gets a goal, now all of a sudden Dallas is sitting there 3-2, and they're on their heels. But I think the most important thing here is to get a little bit of a rhythm, some confidence, get Kai Kamara into the game, get Lee Nguyen into the game. We saw those numbers at halftime. It was all FC Dallas in a very quiet first half for Diego Fagundez.
Yeah, Lee Nguyen needs to be more involved, doesn't he? 4 first-half substitutes all season long for the Revs, and they used 2 here in the Open Cup final. There is Wynn. Figured to be involved in the first 5 or 10 minutes, but then wasn't involved enough for your liking, Taylor.
No, and it's also one of those talking points in 2016 for the Revs. Since Kai Kamaro's come to this team, he and Lee Nguyen really haven't been on the same page.
That was a last gasp challenge from Woodbury. It was an illegal one, according to Baldomero Toledo.
That was a delayed call, wasn't it, Adrian?
Well, if they got the penalty call right, according to the letter of the law, I'm not sure they got this one right. It'd be interesting to have another look. Woodbury stretching in, at least to my initial impression, seemed to get plenty of the ball. That won't improve Jay Heaps' mood at all.
It was a great look from Diaz, and listen, Urruti's in behind. I'm just, from that look initially, I don't know.
Yeah, tough to tell from that angle whether it was ball or Urruti.
Keep in mind, where's Toledo in his positioning? He may have been right behind Woodbury, where it looks like he does connect with him, but now it puts one of the Revolution center backs on a yellow.
It also puts them facing Mauro Rosales or Maynor Figueroa on the free kick. Maybe the left foot of Figueroa or the right foot of Rosales. It's Rosales who takes. Knighton prevents even a corner from occurring. Brad Knighton, who was on the Revolution squad officially back in 2007, wasn't playing in that time as a rookie, but he was a roommate of Jay Heaps at the time. Now the shot from distance. Well, Chris Seitz some way out of his goal. It's Fagundes' first real look at goal all night long.
Well, and with Kai Kamara in a Revolution jersey, they've often played a little bit more direct than I think Lee Nguyen and Fagundes and Kellen Rowe would like. But if that's the case and you need to get back into this game and you want to play off your target striker, then you got to take chances on the second balls going forward. And that's exactly what Diego Fagundes did just there. But I think Lee Nguyen at times gets frustrated with balls not playing on the ground. You got to play the situation of the game. And I think Jay Heaps would like Lee Nguyen maybe to take a few more chances going forward if they're going to play direct off of Kai Kamara.
Hollingshead looking down the line. Gonsalves was there to intervene. Diaz trying to connect with Urruti's run. That will be a Revolution free kick this time, though, as Agudelo is sent sprawling. And there's a yellow card coming out, this time for Zimmerman. Walker Zimmerman. You might remember his heroics here last year in the MLS Cup playoffs. Part of that amazing game against Seattle, where Dallas came back from the dead. Zimmerman ramming home the winning penalty kick in the shootout. Chris Seitz has a connection to his opposing goalkeeper. The two of them were together with the Philadelphia Union back in 2010 as Tierney whips this in. Kellen Acosta. Woodbury looking wide, but overdid it. No chance for Fagundes. Diego Fagundes, who was on the score sheet against NYC, just his 4th goal of the season. Despite their recent improvement, the Reds have only won once on the road all season long. Against Vancouver. They haven't actually won here in Frisco since 2008, the year after your Open Cup triumph. lost the last 5 meetings here with Dallas. Dallas also winning by 4 goals to 2 in the league up at Gillette Stadium in May. Revs were actually ahead in that game too. They were leading 2-1. Here's Barrios. Last touch off of Tierney. That'll be a corner. Barrios, who's Jovinko size, isn't he? 5'4". His Dallas career really took off after goals in the Open Cup last year for them. 2 goals against Oklahoma City, providing the springboard. He hasn't looked back.
He's been quiet since, he's been quiet lately, though. What, 2 goals in his last 10 MLS appearances, and he really is the game changer. When you talk to opposing coaches, they bring up Diaz and they bring up Barrios.
There is Diaz right on cue, and a header not that far wide from Zimmerman.
At some point, you may want to pressure Mauro Diaz when he's 25-30 from your goal.
Right.
It may be a short corner, but Mauro Diaz just having his way, so much time on the ball of delivering that ball in from about 25, 28 yards away.
Agudelo again involved. Fagundes leaving it for Lee Wynn, who pushes on. Declining the obvious pass there for Tierney, but did enough to win the throw. Scotty Caldwell. Boston through and through. Tierney, quick throw. Good movement from Agudelo. And with the ball, good movement as well. Now Kellen Rowe. Just was second best there to Diaz, and as a result, Dallas storming forward here. Ruti putting the brakes on for now. And then going again, Max Ruti. Good, solid defensive work from Farrell. Goes without saying, the next goal is mighty, mighty pivotal in this encounter. If the Revs can get it, it's very much game back on. Caldwell, space for Tierney, can measure his cross here. Tierney, oh, and Agudelo rose to meet it. Almost an unchallenged header.
Well, Agudelo is frustrated with himself, but this is why I think Jay Heaps likes the proposition and the fact that you have now 2 forwards. You and I have watched so many games on the road this year, and we've looked at it and said, how many crosses from Chris Tierney and whoever's at right back for the Revolution go uncontested if it's not for Kai Kamara? Now you get 2 options with Juan Agudelo and Kamara inside there. That's a great ball in from Chris Tierney.
Tierney, who was the 5th Revolution player to reach 200 appearances for the club. He was telling us yesterday that it still hurts thinking back to MLS Cup 2014. Remember, he scored in that game to level matters. The Revolution's most recent big final appearance.
That was one of the oddest cup finals I've ever seen or been a part of. Remember the first, what was the opening chance between Robbie Rogers and Landon Donovan? There were so many chances in that game. And then the Revs hung around it. And Robbie Keane was the difference at the end.
Yep. Went to extra time after Tierney's equalizer. It's a defeat that still hurts. It's Revolution players who thought they had a chance to cause the upset on the day. Of course, that was Landon Donovan's retirement game, wasn't it, Taylor? Remember that?
He retired?
Maybe just had a rest for 18 months. Just Lee Wynn there. Kai Kamara just wrong-footed. And Kellen Rowe.
Tide's changing a little bit here, though. You can feel the momentum coming in. A lot of it is because Fagundes and Kellen Rowe have gotten involved.
Diaz. So adept at finding space where there appears to be none. Alan Rowe. It's actually the Revolution's second all-time leading scorer in this competition, with 6 behind one Taylor Twellman, who had 7.
Different though. I think, you know, you bring up Open Cup of 2007 to now. I think the tournament's just improved immensely. I think a big part of that is CONCACAF Champions League, the prize money. But I just think the open competition is just as intriguing as it's ever been. It's a different feel to it, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking away from, listen, we won it in 2007, that's fine. But I just think in 2016, Adrian, it's a better tournament, and the competition's been better because we've now seen coaches playing their first team players way more than we did 10 years ago.
Yeah. Tesho Akindele is going to come on to be the first change for Oscar Pereira. He will replace Mauro Rosales. Akindele, who was the 2014 Rookie of the Year in MLS. One of 2 consecutive Canadians to win that award. It was Kyle Larin, followed him last year.
Well, and that's a tactical change too, because Akindele brings a little bit more pace and a little bit more threat on the counter, especially with New England pressing the issues here.
Here's Kellen Acosta. Akindele unable to latch onto it. Careless though by Lee Win. Gives it back to Acosta. In comes the cross away from Gonçalves. Akindele able to settle. Diaz trying to guide Akindele forward to the danger area. 6 goals and 4 assists so far for him this season in MLS. This attack peters out. Interesting, Dallas don't have any really prolific goal scorers in MLS. You look at the leading scorers, Barrios with 8, Cerruti with 7, Akindele with 6. And they've managed to find a way to spread the wealth around. 10 players who've scored 2 goals or more. Fagundes, now to Tierney. Attack broken up by Hollingshead.
But if I was going to list, I think one of the biggest questions about FC Dallas in the playoffs is the lack of that real threatening number 9. And I'm not taking away from Max Cerruti because he is a threat, but he's not your consistent goal scorer. You know, if you throw David Villa on this team, you throw Bradley Wright Phillips on this team. You know, if you have that kind of goal scorer on this team, I think it's a completely different look. And who knows, I may be proven wrong on this, but I'm just not sure Max Cerruti in big games is that kind of guy. But then again, when you have the multiple threat of Barrios and Diaz underneath him, and it's either Akindele or Rosales, you may not need that.
He was the good luck charm at times for Portland last year, wasn't it? He slipped in his man here, and a real chance to finish it is taken! That might well be that. Cerruti right on cue. And surely there is no way back now for the Revolution.
I think if Max Cerruti's looking at me in the booth saying, "What'd you say?" You were saying what again? I'm not a goal scorer. I'm not a finisher. How's this? No doubt about it. He has the pace and the mobility to make any defender's life an absolute nightmare. If he finishes plays off, watch out, MLS. This team may be an MLS Cup in 2016.
And Mauro Diaz now has a goal and 3 assists, apart in all 4 of Dallas's goals. Urruti with his 2nd of the night, his 3rd of the competition this season, and Dallas with real daylight now. Revolution have been blown aside, really, having taken that early lead. We wondered whether Saturday night was merely going to be a blip for this Dallas team. A 1-0 defeat here to Colorado.
Did Mauro Diaz play?
He did not play on Saturday.
There's your answer.
Here he is again, simply irrepressible.
Showed him here.
It is just close to an impossible task to stop him when he's in this sort of mood. And not only does he produce assists and goals, he draws yellow cards aplenty. Andrew Farrell, the latest recipient. Well, what does it say on that sheet now, I wonder? Any game plans for being 4-1 down? Diaz standing over the delivery. Urruti has his hat-trick. He's offside, though. It's not going to count. Well, the flag to the rescue for the Revolution.
He's off.
Yeah, right decision.
That right shoulder was off.
Kudos to the officiating crew, got that right too.
How about the ball from Mauro Diaz, though?
Again,
I mean, it's just it's ridiculous.
Right on the money.
See, this is where he's a killer. That is where Mauro Diaz is a killer. And for those of you watching at home, what Mauro Diaz is doing is when the Revolution are in possession, instead of always being in a defensive posture, what he's going to find is the pocket of space where the Revolution are leaving just unoccupied. And so immediately when the ball turns over, you can tell right Gruezo and Acosta are doing. When you win the ball, find his feet, find it as quickly as possible. So now Caldwell, Fagundes, Lee Win, that midfield's chasing shadows because Diaz is picking up that area where they just left. You know, some of the greatest playmakers in this league used to do that. Peter Novak used to do that. Marco Echeverri, Jaime Moreno. You know, that's what you call a luxury player. You're like, okay, fine, I'm going to play a couple defensive guys because this guy's so good on the offensive side of things. As Diego Fagundes has had a frustrating evening, he gets a yellow, but Diaz has just been a pleasure to watch.
Well, he sees highways where others see footpaths. Say that about the world's best playmakers. The game seems to operate almost in slow motion for them. Diaz again pulling the strings here. This rather beleaguered Revolution defensive unit just trying to hold on for dear life as Diaz whips it in. Gruezo pouncing on the second ball. Well, Dallas found a way to overcome adversity here tonight, and they've had a tendency to do that this season. They've had 3 or 4 big lopsided defeats, despite their prominent position in MLS at the moment. Lost 5-0 in Houston, 5-0 in Seattle. They've always bounced back over those big defeats and got right back to work next time around. Callum Rowe now. Kamara arriving! And well, the Revolution were going to have even the beginnings of a foothold back in the game. They needed that to go in. Kamara with his first sniff of goal.
But a lot of it came off the break between Lee Nguyen and Kellen Rowe. And that's where Kai Kamara scored 26 goals in all competitions last year for Columbus Crew. I just think if the New England Revolution are going to make the playoffs in this late run of the MLS regular season, Kai Kamara's got to score goals.
We'll have more football for you tomorrow. Two different games to tell you about. The Champions League, Juventus and Sevilla. That will be a 2:30 Eastern start on ESPN2 as the Champions League is back on your ESPN screens. And then the USL as well. The Real Monarchs of Salt Lake City taking on San Antonio FC. That will be on ESPN3. That's a 9 Eastern start. All of that tomorrow. Tonight, we are 3/4 of the way through this game, and Kellen Rowe spurns what was a decent opportunity there for the Revs. They had numbers. It's going to be Teal Bunbury, and Jay Heaps turns to next for his third and final substitution. Talked about the wealth of attackers the Revolution have sprinkled across their squad. I think we're going to now have seen nearly all of them at one stage or other tonight.
Hold on, Jose.
Offside again. This time it's against Akindele. Nice confirmation of the change, and it is Kellen Rowe who's going to make way. Well, the Revs got themselves out of some jams on the road to this final. All along the way, it was some heart attack moments against Carolina, against the New York Cosmos. They were trailing twice. Philadelphia, they needed a penalty kick shootout to get past them in the quarterfinals. Semi-final was the only relatively comfortable game they had. There's Diaz, thought about it from distance. Akindele, number stretched at the back, the post. Saving Grant Knighton and the Revolution there. Ruti is sniffing a hat-trick. Minutes to go. Bunbury. Kamara on the turn. Now Fagundes. Up for grabs, Kamara. Went
That's
to beat
great
it.
defending, Adrian, from Ryan Hollingshead. Matt Hedges was beat. Kai Kamara had him beat, and Hollingshead has to slide in to cover. That's great defending.
But now Hedges has given it away, and Agudelo trying to burst clear. Hedges recovering, making amends for his giveaway.
And a lot of this, just get the ball wide. Now you've got two runners in Agudelo and Kai Kamara. Matt Hedges gets beat from Kai Kamara, and Hollingshead steps in right here to cover. So you can see everything in front of him. That's just great defending.
A Revolution corner kick. 3 goals behind. Dallas put 4 past them when they met in May at Gillette Stadium in MLS play. Revs lost 3-0 here on their last visit last July. That's a little scoop pass over the top. Bunbury trying to make things happen, and almost did so. Not a bad effort as an introduction to the game for Teal Bunbury. We talked about all the Revolution attacking weapons that are out there. But what about FC Dallas and the attacking show they've put on here led by Max Arudi and Mauro Diaz, Taylor.
Yeah, a lot of it is just Mauro Diaz, when he gets the time and space to open up the game, then it plays into Max Arudi and his abilities. And listen, I stay with what I'm saying tonight. Yes, he's got a couple goals and whatnot. But if FC Dallas was completely confident in Max Arudi, they wouldn't be signing a new striker in the next couple of days, so to speak. They're sniffing around, and obviously with the roster freeze deadline and whatnot, it's difficult to find a free agent. But I wouldn't be shocked if you see Carlos Ruiz in an FC Dallas uniform in the next 48 to 72 hours.
Really? Here comes the cross, and it's there! Tapped home beyond the far post by Agudelo. And it's the Revolution who've announced that they're not going to go quietly just yet. Reducing the arrears. Agudelo with his second of the night, stabbing it home from close range.
And I agree with Jay Heaps. This look with two forwards and Kai Kamara and Juan Agudelo just gives them a different look. They may be a little susceptible defensively, but you've now got two natural goal scorers getting on the end of what the strength of the Revolution is, and that's getting the ball wide and creating chances.
Just a little deflection off Zimmerman, wasn't it? And it took it into the path of Agudelo. Bunbury has come on and made something happen for the Revolution. They've reduced the arrears. And they make further inroads here. It just does enough, doesn't it, to announce to Dallas that they don't have this one yet. Juan Agudelo with the double. With his 5 MLS goals. And here they come again. And Kamara, wow, he'd got ahead of Hedges there if the ball had been more precise.
It's got to be a better ball, though, for Gundes, because now you got numbers going forward and you lose possession there and you get Akindele going the other way.
Akindele! Drive from the edge of the penalty area, which Brad Knighton was able to see clearly all the way. Well, don't go anywhere, folks. This could be a roller coaster final. Last 16 minutes or so, because the Revs are chasing. They have to take some chances at the back every time they give it up like this. Opens up the possibility for a lightning quick Dallas counterattack. Here comes another one. Asking a lot even of the speedy Barrios.
But Adrian, while we're talking about the prospects of FC Dallas in the playoffs, this is a great example of whether or not they have the experience and the mental fortitude to know you're up 4-2. Why is the game so spread out right now? If you're Kellen Acosta, if you're Grueso, you need Matt Hedges, you need leadership. Make this game compact. Right now, New England's going to chase the game. There's no reason for FC Dallas to be as spread out as they are right now. There is 45 yards from Matt Hedges to Max Arudi. You're up 4-2 at home. Be compact, make it difficult, and have New England chase the game, because they've already shown if they give up possession, going the other way, you're a threat to get that 5th goal.
Well, we're just coming off a weekend where we saw a team fail to kill off a game and let opponents hang around. DC United took full advantage, didn't they, against the Red Bulls on Sunday. I'll bring you back in on that point in case it was missed. The fact that Carlos Ruiz could be on Dallas's radar screen again, Taylor. This is Mauro Diaz. He's heading in the direction of Brad Knight's goal. He didn't do Akindele any favors with the ball.
I'll confirm, though, that Carlos Ruiz is in Dallas tonight.
And he turned 37 on Thursday. I mean, that would be an astonishing move.
Yes and no. The only thing about it is that, remember, Oscar Pereira last year loved Blas Perez coming off the bench, that experienced goal scorer. You know, if you're chasing a game in the playoffs, who's to say the experience of Carlos Ruiz wouldn't help you in that situation? Remember, he played here from 2005 to 2007.
Just time with the Galaxy. Tis the season for comebacks. Apparently, it's Kamara tries to continue the Revolution comeback. That's what they're trying to engineer here.
But Teal Bunbury's come into this one and delivered 2 or 3 dangerous balls in, giving Kai Kamara and Juan Agudelo an opportunity to get on the end of them. It's whether or not Carlos Ruiz ends up here. The whole point is that even asking Oscar Perea, Fernando Clavillo, and those about Max Cerruti, the question still remains. You want someone to push him, but throughout his career, he has shown he can run for 90 minutes, he can chase a game, he can stretch a game, but can he score the big goals when that moment's there? Tonight, he's done that with 2 goals in a final.
Diaz guilty of leaving the foot in there. Diaz has been the orchestrator and the assassin here. Steered by Figueroa to Barrios. Full width of the field for Urruti. Akindele getting in a tangle. Good work from Gonçalves. Dallas have it back. Gruezo. He's brought a real cutting edge to the center of the park for Dallas. Carlos Gruezo, the young Ecuadorian. Second youngest player to start at the last World Cup in Brazil. Carlos Gruezo.
I thought it was interesting after Copa America, him talking about giving credit to Oscar Perea and FC Dallas for getting him back into that Ecuadorian national team in that starting spot. I just love what I love about FC Dallas, Adrian, is the youth. With the salary cap structure of Major League Soccer and whatnot, you got to go young, play your kids, and use that to your advantage. And Oscar Perea has done that perfectly.
Agudelo. One of those turn moves again, but it's Urruti on the turn here. And Gonçalves getting the better of him. No foul. Yeah, they recently signed, didn't they? That Dallas Youth Academy recently signed the 17th player that they produced to a professional contract.
It was mixed emotion, though, because Paxton's a good player, no doubt about it. And a lot of people in this area believe he's better than, I think it was McKinney, correct? Yeah. Weston McKinney?
Well, that was the other side of that emotional coin,
Yep.
was the Weston McKinney getting poached, so to speak, by the German club, Schalke. And Dallas put a lot of money into producing youth players, don't always reap the benefits when another club comes in and signs, and there's no financial protection at the moment, the way the system is set up. This is Fagundes. Revolution homegrown player. Tierney whipping it in. Well, we've got 2 players on a hat-trick here in this Open Cup final. Juan Agudelo and Maxi Urruti. Tierney to serve in the corner. Left footage. As always, Lee Wynn didn't catch hold of it. Urruti able to clear his lines. You talked about the young homegrown pipeline here in Dallas. Is another product of that. Victor Ulloa. Another player who has flourished under the stewardship of Oscar Perea, replacing Michael Barrios. That is correct. You were in his 6th season, but that doesn't tell the story. He was actually released by Dallas a couple of years into his time here, and Perea brought him back and really rekindled his career.
Remember, he played in the academy under Oscar Perea, but when Perea took over in Colorado, I think that's where Victor Ulloa kind of lost his way a little bit.
It's Fagundes now for the Revs. Good looking cross. Just a little too high for Kamara.
This game's still not over, though.
No.
Adrian. If New England squeeze a goal here in the next 3 or 4 minutes, we could be in for a wild ending.
I'll credit the Revolution. They haven't dropped their heads at all, despite being on the wrong end of a lopsided scoreline. We'll be back with you on Thursday, the first game for the US women's team since the Olympics. They play their first ever game against Thailand. We'll have that for you from Columbus, Mafre Stadium, Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Also the Watch ESPN app. Kai Kamara, who has a goal in an Open Cup final. How dearly his team would love him to grab another and set up a grandstand finish here. Down goes Bunbury, who's also part of that 2012 Open Cup winning team, spawned in Kansas City. Spawned in Kansas City, the holders, the current holders. They won last year's final against the Philadelphia Union, one that went all the way to penalty kicks. Defeat for the Philadelphia Union, Taylor, and it was 3 finals in a row where the home team had lost coming into tonight. 2 by Philadelphia and RSL losing at home to DC back in 2013. Here's Kamara from distance. Oh, and that wasn't that far away. Well, they continue to knock on the door, the Revolution.
And a lot of it's just coming off of second balls, whether it's in wide areas or playing forward, looking for Kai Kamara, Juan Agudelo, and just having that midfield step forward. Just think right now, if you're FC Dallas, Victor Ulloa coming into this one, Kellen Acosta, one of those two, if not both of them, need to stay a little bit more connected with their 2 center backs and deal with those second balls off of that direct play for the Revs.
FC Dallas see this out and grab their first piece of silverware as a club since 1997. Well, they're a very different team. They played in a different stadium. They had a different name. The old Dallas Burn winning a final against DC United on penalties. Hold on here and claim at the Open Cup. Who knows what it might begin, Taylor, for this talented side that Oscar Pereira has assembled.
Well, I think it gives them confidence. You know, we talk a lot about that experience of losing last year to the Portland Timbers in the playoffs and then moving on to this year. What do you do with that experience? But I think this one gives you confidence that what you're doing is right. But I also think, what does it do for Max Cerruti? Because maybe he just needed a big game to show up, score 2 goals, hoist the cup, hoist the trophy, and then say, you know what? Come playoff time, you can count on me.
Well, he played a part, didn't he, in Portland's improbable run last year, but he wasn't the leading man in that surge.
Remember, a big part of that run was who was taking over the number 9. It was a Rudy, it was Adi, it was a Rudy, it was Adi, and they couldn't figure it out. Rudy last year only 4 goals, 3 assists, but the year before he had 10 goals, 2 assists, and a lot of those were off the bench. But if you've got Mauro Diaz, you've got a shot. His fitness, and the fact that he's believed in Oscar Pereira and his technical staff of getting his body fit and ready to play, Mauro Diaz has just been a better player. Because you saw the glimpses of it initially when it came into MLS, but the last 2 years he's been something else. I mean, look at the Open Cup. What is it, 1 goal, 5 assists in his last 2 games?
Yep. He was a big part of that semi-final win, wasn't he? Against the Los Angeles Galaxy. They certainly had their adventures en route to this final, Dallas. They were taken to penalties by the Oklahoma Energy back in the 4th round, squeezed through 6-5 on penalties. Needed extra time to beat Colorado in the round of 16. A stoppage time goal from Castillo to win in Houston, as Urruti can complete his hat-trick here, perhaps. Well, turns provider instead, and Akindele can't finish. Brad Knighton maintaining the increasingly slender hopes for the Revs. Well, they could, or perhaps should, have polished it off right there and then.
We saw Brad Knighton a couple weeks ago at home against Colorado make 2 great saves to help turn this thing around for the Revolution. But look at that ball from Urruti. It's a perfect ball. Akindele's just got to hit that near post on the ground, and it's got Knighton beat.
Meanwhile, Dallas caught in possession, having to scamper back in numbers. The Revolution trying to hurtle forward. It's a heavy touch, though, from Agudelo. Down goes Lee Win, under duress from Gruezo. We'll have the Open Cup trophy presentation following the game over on ESPN 3.
Great turnout.
Yeah.
Great turnout.
Gotta hand it FC Dallas. 9 o'clock local kickoff time here on a Tuesday night.
Well, that was just so your makeup would stay on.
I'm not sure it has, to be honest.
It has it, trust me. Almost 17,000 though.
Yeah. A lot of eyebrows raised when this kickoff time at night was announced, but it has been a roaring success, and they are just minutes away from going home very happy. So he keeps wondering how many minutes. Does his team still have time? Well, I can answer that question for Jay. It's 4 minutes of stoppage time.
8th major cup final for the New England Revolution.
And Jay Heaps,
how many of those has that man right there been part of them?
He's been a part of. He's been a part of all of them as a player and a coach.
You feel for Revs fans, but when you look on the other side of things, FC Dallas was, what was tonight? Their 5th cup final.
Yep.
4th Open Cup final.
They only won 1 previously. Something had to give tonight. In the end, it looks like it's going with the form book. Dallas have been the class side of the league. It doesn't always translate, does it, to cup play? It's certainly not in a one-off 90-minute scenario. Lesser teams might have crumpled after conceding in the fashion Dallas did early on. It just seemed to embolden their cause, as Max Urruti will not get a chance to complete his hat-trick. He's going to limp off, but he's going to get a hero's reception as he leaves. What a night for the Argentine, perhaps his biggest night yet.
Well, I think you can make a real argument that tonight was his biggest moment in his Major League Soccer career. A cup final, showing up in big moments. He's got the pace and the ability to open a game up, and when you've got Amaro Diaz behind you, you can take chances. Urruti took those chances tonight. He easily could have had 3 or 4 goals, if not the post, if not for Brad Knighton. But Maxi Urruti showed up tonight when it mattered most.
And he's replaced just for the last 3 minutes or so by Aubrey David, one of the newer arrivals, a Trinidadian. More of a defensive figure, normally plays at right back, and in fact that's where he's gone. Warren Hollingshead moving in front of him. Had an interesting career, Aubrey David. Played in Costa Rica and Kazakhstan as his last 2 stops before coming here. We want the cup, is the chant for the Dallas crowd, who've had to wait so long since the early days of the Dallas Burn and life in the Cotton Bowl. And even that cup was won far, far away from here in Indianapolis back in 1997. It'll be it's the second ever Open Cup won by a team from the state of Texas.
At some point, the discussion of who will take over for Jurgen Klinsmann when he steps away from the national team, if Oscar Pereira is not into that discussion, there's something wrong with the formula.
I agree. Absolutely. Pereira, he doesn't get all the headlines, doesn't he? He's not always the one with the sparkling line or the quote, but he is a man who sticks to his principles. He has a very firm vision and philosophy of how he wants the game to be played, how he wants a club to be constructed. It'd be fascinating to see what he could do at a national team level as well, if he would ever want that challenge. But
I mean, if they win the Supporter Shield, the Open Cup final, and make a run even in MLS Cup, how is that not your example of how to do things in Major League Soccer? I mean, you know my thoughts on the designated players. You've got to hit home runs if you're going to spend that kind of money.
yeah,
FC Dallas is basically saying, well, okay, and listen, people say they don't spend that much money. They do when it's all put together.
now looking for a crowning moment. Shot from Ulloa, charge down. Well, this is the end of the Open Cup run for Dallas. They will hope it's just merely the beginning now of honours to come their way. The first leg of a potential treble is safely secured. Dallas are the 2016 Lamar Hunt US Open Cup winners, and Oscar Pereira's side have ended a long, long drought in Texas. The first silverware for some 19 years for this club.
Oscar Pereira played here, started as an academy coach in the next phase of his career, left for a little hiatus, but he's come back. It's home.
Yeah.
I don't care how you slice it, it's home for Oscar Pereira. He's made this his home. He's made this club his life. They've been extremely impressive to me over the last 18 to 19 months, and deservedly so. They were the better team tonight.
Let them find the way, his motto, his creed, and they have found their way to victory here in the Open Cup final. And in some style, Dallas recovering after the early adversity and Juan Agadello's opener, and coming back and storming on to win in fine fashion. 2 goals for Urruti. Mauro Diaz, the star of the show. The US Open Cup ceremony coming up on ESPN3 in just a few moments. For all of us, our production crew led by Todd Coulis, for Taylor Twellman and myself, Adrian Healy, thanks so much for the pleasure of your company. Final score, Dallas 4, New England 2. Well, welcome in everyone watching on ESPN3 to Toyota Stadium and the US Open Cup that has just been won by FC Dallas, winning their first trophy in some 19 years. Let's go down to the field now and enjoy all the festivities leading up to the presentation of the medals and the trophy.
Assistant referee, Adam Venkowski. Fourth official, Soren Stoika. And reserve assistant, Kyle Atkins. And now approaching the stage to receive their medals for finishing as finalists at the 2016 Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. Please join in congratulating New England Revolution led by Captain Lee Wynn and head coach Jay Heaps. Let's give a big round of applause and congratulations to the 2016 Lamar Hunt US Open Cup finalist, New England Revolution. And now approaching the stage to receive their champions' medals, please join in congratulating FC Dallas, led by Captain Mauro Diaz and head coach Oscar Pereira. U.S. Soccer Chief Executive Officer Dan Flynn will award the 2016 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Championship Trophy to FC Dallas and their captain, Mauro Diaz.
production from FC Dallas that turned the corner, and all of it comes up from Mauro Diaz. This truly is arguably the best playmaker in the league. Coming into this, he had 2 assists in the semifinal. Well, tonight he has 1 goal, 3 assists in a variety of ways. His movement, his delivery of that final ball, whether it's to Max Cerruti, Matt Hedges, he steps up, takes a penalty, but just Mauro Diaz is that special kind of player that could change a game. Now, we can have an argument about whether or not that's a penalty. It's inconsistently called all over the world, but it is a penalty by the laws of the game. Diaz steps up, unlucky for Brad Knighton, but it's just a pleasure to watch Mauro Diaz over the last, I'd say, 16 to 17 months, because Adrian, he's got fit, and with that fitness, he's just been so much more effective. Max Cerruti with 2 goals, great performance from FC Dallas.
Diaz a hand in all 4 goals, lots of hands on the trophy for FC Dallas. Have had to wait a long time for this, 19 years. Just the 2nd trophy in club history, and what might it lead towards now becomes the question. Now they've got 1. Fans are going to get greedy here. They'll want more.
And they should, because this team under Oscar Pereira has proven that they're up for it. And I think this is the kind of game that gives them the confidence, even though the schedule of the rest of the regular season is a difficult one. They play the LA Galaxy twice. They've got a legitimate chance at the Supporters Shield. The question is, are they built for the playoffs?
Yeah.
Can Max Cerruti score some big goals in the playoffs? Can they win games 1-0? When the game's wide open, like we saw here tonight, they're good. But when the game's tight, can they get that 1 goal and defend? I'm telling you right now, it's difficult to bet against this team.
Indeed. Questions about perhaps can they go on the road and get results as well. Here at home, they have been fabulous, and that was in plenty of evidence during this Open Cup final.